Hello, folks. This is Santosh Shiva. Welcome to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. In this show, I bring you conversations with people on a journey of fitness and well being. I hope they spark a new possibility for you, provide some tips, and perhaps some inspiration to perspire. My guest today is a popular figure in the Bangalore cycling scene, the one and only Bikey Venky. His story is an inspiration for anyone who thinks good health and well-being and fitness is just for a few. No matter where, how, in what shape you're born, you have a choice to live well. And that's his story. We get to talk about how it all started, his journey, what triggered it, how did bicycling become a passion, and by the way, when did running drop off, his adventures in Vermont, the Bangalore scene, and how and why did the podcast come about. Let's dig in. To get your latest updates on these amazing stories, please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and leave your comments below. Love to hear back from you.
Welcome to RunYogi Diaries, Venky.
Thank you, Santosh. Great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I got your full name. I want to at least say it once before we speak to Venkateswara Rao Navanasi. Welcome.
Yes.
I don't think many people probably know you as that.
No. I think some of my earlier friends know the full name, but not many in the cycling circles also know my full name. Yeah.
You're Bikey Venky.
Bikey Venky. Yeah.
Have you trademarked that?
Not at
Time to, right?
Yeah, I guess I probably should.
Yeah. Because now you're becoming a famous guy, so may as well trademark it, right? All right. Hey, so Venky, thanks for taking the time to be on the show. You are an accomplished bicyclist, and I've been seeing some of your work on your YouTube channel. Very impressive. So look forward to a conversation around your journey, how you got there, and all the cool stuff. So there's a lot we're going to talk about today. So before that, I want to kind of hand it back to you and have you do a personal introduction, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, so I'm known as Bikey Venky in the cycling circles. Venky or Venkat in the work area, because Venkateswara Rao is a mouthful, even in a daily this thing. But yeah, I have started my journey in cycling about 12 years ago, and been racing for Spectrum Racing in Bangalore. I am from Andhra. So I'm from a town called Eluru, and I've lived for about 10 years in Hyderabad. And then I kind of moved to Bangalore around 10 years ago, and I work in IT, as most Bangaloreans do, I guess. And I work in the data analytics side of things. So, and I'm married and have a couple of kids, both boys, and they keep me busy apart from my cycling. Yeah.
Data analytics. So I'm sure you use all of that in your biking, right? Looking at all the data, crunching it, and
yeah. So reading charts preparing charts and reading charts and reading reports and preparing reports at work, and doing around the same thing as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So Venky, love to maybe spend some time around how it all started, right? And what got you into cycling, of all the things, right? Not many people get into cycling. People think it's an expensive hobby.
And
So,
they're right.
t- right. There's an expensive bike right behind you, right? We won't
Yeah.
ask how much you paid for it. Yeah. So tell us about how it all started. What got you into cycling and fitness in general?
Yeah, so that journey is a bit of a story, as in, I have always been a fat kid, um, and always have had, more than being fat, I have always had health issues. Um, Breathing issues, wheezing. I think I have a bit of an asthmatic even as a kid. So, and many sleepless nights, coughing and wheezing, not able to sleep, not able to breathe. Um, so my mom used to struggle a lot with me. I'm the youngest, and that's and I think most problematic kid she had, and she had to had keep take me around to the hospitals, carrying me. Not easy carrying a heavy kid like me, but she had to do that. In those days, it's all walking. And she used to go around walking from hospital to hospital to make sure that I am able to breathe again. I'm able to uh, be okay again. And that, I still remember those sleepless nights, and the helpless look on her face as I struggled, right? And that kind of continued a little bit even when I got married. It was my wife this time. I remember we got married, I was working, and it was my wife who had to that helpless look now transferred to my wife. And that struggle of sleepless nights, and a lot of uh, coughing, wheezing, all these issues continued here. And that those painful memories, I are what kind of still haunt me, and make sure that I stay the course. And coming back, so this continued a lot. And one time around, I think I was 31 years old, 31st birthday, we went to Prasad's IMAX in Hyderabad to kind of celebrate these 31 years of bad health. And I was so they have a weighing scale there, and I was checking my it all that BMI and all that jazz it gives out, right? So I was checking my weight on that, and it showed 92 kilos. And it just told me that you are on the border of being obese, and you are 20 kilos overweight. And that I looked at that, and I looked at my wife. She was carrying, she is pregnant with my with our first kid, 6 months into it, I think. And I looked at her, and I looked at this, and I said, okay, so I'm going to bring a child into this world, and I don't think I'm going to be around to see him grow. And that thought, and the fact that I'm probably going to be a very bad example for my kid really struck with me. That thought was something that, even now when I think about it, I kind of get emotional. So that my kid, even before he was born, was my motivation to kind of say, you got to do something about this man. So mainly it was my health that, that kind of prompted me. So I've tried many times before, trying to lose weight, trying to but I think that strong why was not there for me. It was more like I need to look good and all that. So that was not strong enough, and anytime I see a biryani or a sweet, I think that would that would go off, to hell with looking good. Let's have
Feel good.
that
Let's feel good.
let's feel good now. And but this time I think that why was there. I need to be a good I need to be able to take care of my family.
So when did this
uh,
happen? I mean, this was while
this
sitting in the
was
hospital. You had this
uh,
realization just sitting there at the hospital
no,
with your
no.
wife.
So no, this was in Prasad's IMAX when we went to celebrate my first,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my birthday, right? 31st birthday, 2008. It was February 2008, and I said, okay, this is something I need to do about this. And so the next day, I think on the way back home, we stopped at a badminton a sports this thing, and bought a badminton racket, because I used to see my in my apartment people used to play badminton. So I said, okay, from tomorrow I am going to start badminton. It's like one of those many resolutions before, many new year resolutions or birthday resolutions, but this time I had a strong enough reason to say, okay, I need to stick with this. So I next day morning I turned up to play badminton with these uh, at that time I was I didn't consider myself an uncle, but with these uncles these uncles to play, and within 5 minutes I was out. I had to
You're playing with fit
gather
uncles.
I, you need at least they were way fitter than me, right? So I was out in 5 minutes. I was just had to sit on the sidelines and gather my breath as they continued to play, right?
And this was which year?
This was 2008.
2008.
Yeah. And but I said I managed to get out of the bed the next morning, and go there again, and go there the next day, and I kept at it. But as I went on, I said, okay, I need to get better at it. Slowly I kept getting better at it, but I kind of picked up a habit of say warming up before, say running around the apartments a few rounds before starting. Before that I kind of actively hated running, because I just couldn't run, right?
Very, very few
So
people love running.
no, yeah. I,
After
I think,
after childhood, at least.
yeah.
Once you're past your sixth or seventh year of life, human beings forget running. At least in
Yeah,
urban life.
yes,
Yeah, go
yes.
ahead.
So I before that I actively hated running because I couldn't run, right? So I thought, I couldn't run if my life depended on it. But this time I actually felt that my life actually depended on it. So I said, okay, I need to get better at this. I need to get better. The badminton was the distraction for me. So I said I need to get better at that. Playing with these uncles. So I used that as a motivation to get better at running. And then I chanced upon a bit of yoga on TV. I said, okay, let me try this, and that really helped. with my flexibility, my breathing, and everything. And I kept better at badminton. I got to the level where I was able to play non-stop for an hour and not be tired with it. And in the process, I
And badminton,
also,
and in
yeah.
badminton, I think if you're not a very good player, you get a better workout, right?
No, you got to move around the court. Otherwise, you are just standing and saying tang
Yeah, yeah,
tang
yeah,
tang.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that way, I kind of got better at it, and also during that, I um, made sure that I'm eating only what I needed instead of consuming jumbo-sized meals every day. Yeah.
So, did somebody
So
tell you that to size your meal, or was it just your own instinct?
no, it's my own thing. It was at this point of time I was experimenting with a lot of things. Had to think started eating early
Mhm.
and light dinners, um, and so that it's also the motivation to lose weight, right?
Mhm.
So that I could move better on the court.
Right.
So all that, and I in that 8 months I lost about 16 kilos,
Mm.
um, and by the time that um, so October 2008, um, I from 92 to I came to 76.
Wow.
Yeah. And by the time my kid was born and he was 6 months old, and I thought, okay, I used to take him around the apartment to walk him and all that. I had to spend some time with him, work, and now every morning an hour or two for my workout. I thought, okay, so we need to think about making this sustainable. Okay, because I know I many times before I thought I have done this, lost a bit of weight, and then quickly went back. And this time I said, okay, I'm not doing that, right? So I had to find a way to make this sustainable. So I was thinking, it was going at the back of my mind. I was researching how to make this sustainable. So that's when a thought of cycling came into the picture, because I was commuting to work. I was working in high tech city at that time in Hyderabad. So I said, I go to work every day on my scooter. Why not go by a cycle? And that would give me the workout, and that is something that I do every day. So that thought came into the picture, and I began researching about cycles and stuff. That's when I found an online forum called Bike Zone.
So,
Uh,
question for you there, right? So,
yeah,
what happened to running? You just dropped running in the process?
it was going on. So
Okay.
I was running 5K, 10K. So my sister's home was about 5K from my home. So I was living in Miapur in Hyderabad, and she was living in Chandanagar at that time. So I used to run to her home. I say hi and run back home, back to my home. It was kind of fun way to get a run in. So
So, you
I was
didn't
running.
branch into, so as a part of your thinking about making it sustainable, you didn't
Mm.
think of branching into being a marathoner, or you didn't think of that?
Y- Yeah, the thought of marathoning and stuff came in later,
Okay.
because I did not at that time I did not consider myself a runner or anything. I
Okay.
was just running to get better at badminton
Right,
at
right.
that point of
Right,
time.
right, right.
So I was just using it as a cross training as such, I
Right,
guess.
right.
So I didn't consider myself a runner at all. And yeah, so I was yeah, I was
Back to
looking for
you started
cycling.
commuting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked up and did a lot of research online, and but I found out that there are lot of expensive bicycles out there. I kept visiting bike shops, looking at all those expensive bikes, which I then considered expensive bikes, and like, okay, come back and think about it, all that thing. And then I ended up buying a Hero Hawk, um, which is a 3,900 rupee Indian bike, with I think it was some 6 gears or something. And I
That's like the Walmart equivalent bike over here in the US, is it?
yeah,
The
I
Hero Hawk,
guess,
like
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
basic bike. I
De-
got it.
definitely Walmart equivalent.
Okay.
Hero Cycles is a big manufacturer here. So the all the Dudwala cycles that you see,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay.
But this one is a kind of road racer version of their
Yeah. I
cycle.
got it. Yeah, yeah.
It has the bent handlebars and everything, but it is equally crappy, right? So I got that in King Koti in Hyderabad, and rode back to my place, which was about 20 kilometers ride. So that was an exhilarating feeling,
So the
riding.
bike, the bike was good then. The bike was good for that purpose, at least those days, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely. It does a great job of, for short distances and commutes. It is perfect. So I rode back from the place, and I was like, wow, this is. I was sweating by the buckets, but it felt really good. And I said, I started commuting to office on that. People in the apartment gave strange looks to me, but I said, yeah, that's okay.
And it was
And
2008, right? It was still not, biking culture was not still very huge in India.
yeah, yeah, but
It was,
even now, I think the people got somewhat used to it, but people who have no connection to biking or anything will still look at you as a strange being, right?
from
Uh,
Mars or something.
yeah,
All those cooling glasses and spandex and
yeah, yeah. So
so.
it's like,
Question for you, right?
yeah.
What about, so when you were riding to work during those
Mhm.
days? Did you
Mhm.
have facilities at work to change and things like that? How did you manage that?
Yeah, so there are no facilities to change or anything. I used to ride in my work clothes.
So just people
Um,
had to deal with you,
yeah,
basically.
basically, yeah, at least I tried to be considerate in as much as try to sweat a little
Little
less.
less, or put a
Go
spray on just before getting to office.
go a little slower, and say, okay, deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I rode informals, and didn't change or anything. I just went into the washroom before getting started, washed myself, wiped myself, and said, get started. That's kept it as simple as that.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
No excuses,
Exactly.
right?
No
Awesome.
excuses. So,
So
but
this was in 2009, right? 2009 or 2008
yeah,
you
yeah,
started this.
October 2008, October 23rd, 2008 was when I picked up the bike and started
Okay.
commuting. So yeah, people were giving a strange look, but eventually when they realized that this guy is doing something, the same people come back and appreciate you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
In the apartment or wherever, right? So you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, yeah.
And so I was commuting, but I quickly realized that 7 kilometer commute to and 7 kilometer commute back is not doing me anything. So it was not enough. The endorphins that I was getting from 1 hour, 1.5 hour workout is not the same thing that I'm getting from the commute.
Right.
Then I decided, I thought what to do. So I started riding more in the weekends.
Mhm.
So I was doing weekend rides. I was joining Hyderabad bicycling club rides, where people, a couple of uh, guys, expat guys who were working with Microsoft and stuff like that, they were organizing bike rides around Hyderabad on the routes that none of us locals knew.
Cool.
So they were showing us our own city and the regions around our city, and it was fun to join their rides and get to know our own city that way.
Yeah.
Um, so I was joining those rides and getting better at longer and longer distances. Um, and and it became a, so the commute became a secondary thing by
Mhm.
that time. And I began to enjoy that air in my whatever little hair I had at that time. uh, that feeling of being outdoors a lot more. And that became the primary thing. I
Okay.
was looking forward to the weekend so that I can go out and ride. I was starting to do 1 or 2 weekday rides in the morning before, uh, and that became a passion in itself, the cycling. And I think badminton and everything else took a backstage at that point
Right.
of time. Yeah.
Right. Right. Cool. And then you moved to Bangalore. This was 2011.
No, no. So what happened was in 2009, I happened to move to US for an year on work.
Which
And
part? Which part were you in?
Vermont.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
that.
beautiful part of the country.
Oh man, what an amazing place! It kind of gives you. I think if I was lucky that in US, that was one place that I landed up in, because that felt like heaven for me. It I got there just as the fall was ending.
Mm.
Still the fall colors were there. And it quickly moved into that grace of the winter. And so when I got there, before I got there, I started researching about the bike shops that are there. So that, because no way I am going to bring my bike, that
Yeah.
3,000 rupee clunker, to the US. I said, okay, I'll probably go buy a bike there and continue riding. So I was researching about the bike shops there. And I found, okay, there is something called On a River Bikes, and there is something called a community bike shop, where you can volunteer your effort, and you can build your own bike. So I that happened to be like in the same lane, that same street that I was staying, the community bike shop. So I went there, and it used to operate on a couple of days a week, 2 3 days a week on the evenings. So after work, I used to go there to volunteer, and so basically fixing the old bikes and make them
Oh,
rideable
nice.
again, so that.
So did you have those skills by then? You learned that in Hyderabad, or you learned that
No,
when you came?
no. So
Okay.
the community bike shop, they taught us how to fix bikes.
Oh, nice.
So it's like volunteering there to fix bikes. So
Yeah.
by learning,
Uh-huh.
right? So that fix those old bikes and sell them for cheap, so that the bike cycling culture
Mhm.
continues.
Mhm.
So it's like $30-40 kind of they used to sell for $30-40, and so that the thing kept going. And so if you volunteer for 8 hours there, you are eligible for picking up any parts there and building your own bike.
Okay.
So after I think a month or two, I was eligible for that. So I started building my own bike. I happened to like old new frame, unused old frame, and built with the help of the guys there, built my own MTB. That
Wow.
was that was a cool experience.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was really satisfying. I was beaming, walking back to my apartment with my with the bike I built. It was something. And then I started riding through the winters on that bike, on that MTP. I remember one day I went for a uh, I think 100-kilometer ride or something. I had to start in the afternoon because that is the only time when it kind of got some light. So I went around and by the time I came back, it was dark and 6 o'clock, and it was quite dark. And I lifted the bottle up, and I could feel the ice. No water was coming. So it was that.
But what is surprising is
Yeah,
I find biking in winter is
yeah,
difficult because there's wind and it is a lot colder than the still temperature. There's also
yeah,
wind chill. So I'm quite
yeah.
impressed that you were able to do that coming from Hyderabad to Vermont and that chill temperature. You're doing rides outside. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I quickly realized, when I came there, right, it was just the end of fall, as I said, and the grace of the winter started taking over, and I was really feeling depressed, and I could feel myself quite down all the time. Initially, I thought I was just missing my family because I went there alone, because it was a relatively short term. I said, okay, I'll just go and come back. So I was attributing that to missing the family, but then quickly realized this is something that I'm not getting
Mm,
enough exercise, and I'm feeling depressed. So luckily enough, there was some in the company that I was working, there was something called a lunchtime activity group, hiking group. And I a nice guy called Dave King. He used to kind of help us go around. He's a marathoner, and he designed a lot of those. I think he and Rob Lavazza, they devised a lot of trails around that
mm.
National Life Hill. And I happened to join them in those afternoons to hike. So the first day I went there with my winter heavy coat, and I was within the 10 minutes I was sweating a lot, and it became quite heavy. And they told me that if you need to think of layering instead of heavy coats and stuff. So I picked up these things about how to dress
Mm.
for workouts in winter, and all that.
That's pretty
So
cool. Yeah,
yeah, so
otherwise you would have had a frostbite, right? Biking
yeah,
just
so
like that.
I was layering like 3-4 layers, and the 2-3 layers of gloves, inners, outers, and all that, and then multiple layers inside, one wicking layer, and
Yeah.
something that to keep warm and all that. So I think 3-4 layers. I think most of them were from Walmart, but they did the job.
The works, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I was
one takeaway, right? I think that is a good takeaway for anyone listening to this, or especially somebody who's beginning to even think of a cycling journey, is what you did in the community shop. Because
Mm,
I personally think if you know how to meddle with the machine, your
yeah,
relationship with bicycling is a lot enhanced.
yeah,
I mean, I do bicycling, I've done bicycling, but I'm very uncomfortable with the mechanicals of it. Like, I'm always scared that, the chain's going to come out, or I'm going to have a flat. And I hate the idea of, getting stuck in the middle of nowhere and having to fix all that. But I think what you did there is commendable, because I'm sure that comes very handy in all your long rides, right?
it definitely does. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know a few basic maintenance things, right?
Yeah,
That's why the some of the shops even here in Bangalore kind of organize these maintenance
yeah,
workshops, so that they can teach these guys, teach the beginners and how to kind of do basic maintenance.
yeah,
They those actually come in really handy, I think. Yeah, shops like Crankmaster and Bots and all these things, they do this. And as you said, that's really useful when you are
yeah.
out on a 100-kilometer ride, maybe out in the 50 kilometers away from Bangalore.
Yeah.
No one is going to come and help
You
you there.
know, at least in India, if you're
Yeah,
stuck in the middle of nowhere, you'll have villages, you can go to a tea shop, you can hang out. In the US,
yeah.
if you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, it is really in the
Oh,
middle of nowhere. And you just have to wait till you get help if you can't
absolutely,
fix it yourself. So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead. So you were in Vermont.
Yeah, I was in Vermont. I was riding that MTB around, and trying to get some workout. And I was doing those lunchtime hikes, and I was trying to do some lunchtime. They used to have a mountain bike rides as well on that lunchtime. And then I realized that more than riding, it's easier to run during those times, the winter times. That's when I began to think as a runner. I said, okay, there was a Vermont marathon that happens in May every year. So I said, okay, let me sign up for that. At that point of time, I haven't even done a half marathon or anything. I think 10Ks were the regular thing for me. I said, I want to do a marathon now, and I signed up for that. So, and I started running more in those the winter climates. I think I remember my first long run. I gradually built up to it, 10Ks, 15K, and then my first 21K was, I think, almost in -8 degrees uh,
Wow.
in Vermont. And that I still remember coming back from that run, so elated, so pumped up that 21K I done, and that runner's high they talk about, right? So I think I had that runner's high at that point of time. And I came back and sat on my computer and wrote a poem about
Oh wow.
that. Uh, that was
Do send
really
me the
funny.
poem. We'll put it on the show notes.
Sure, sure. That was that was kind of my running journey. But that running journey kind of was cut short because of an injury that I picked up
Oh,
on one of those long runs. I think it was my third long run or something, the third half marathon distance. And I think it was a case of too much too soon or
hmm.
something. So I went halfway, then I started feeling my left knee, IT band, and I stopped to check what is wrong, and then I couldn't start running again. So
Oh.
I had to walk back the entire 10-11 k home, and then it kind of got okay after a bit. But whenever I picked up, whenever I got to like 10 miler mark, it began hurting again. It
So
began
that
flaring up.
explains. So I guess
Yeah,
I had that question. I guess that
yeah.
explains why you're not Runny Venky and you became Bikey Venky. I think
Yeah.
that is where the scene changes.
Yeah, so that's where the scene changes, I guess,
Yes.
because I was riding a bit, but that did not hurt while riding.
Yeah.
So the only thing that the ITB only flared up when I was increasing the distance beyond, close to 10 miles and stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
the marathon that I signed up for never happened. So I never became a marathon runner as
Yeah.
such.
Rest is
Uh,
history.
Rest is
Rest is
history.
history.
That runner's high lasted very little time at that point of time.
The running community lost Runny Venky. We handed them over to the bikers.
Yeah, so the story behind the name itself is funny, because the Bikey Venky name, right, that when I signed, when I was researching for cycling, when I signed up for this online forum I mentioned before about Bike Zone. So there, India, there are like ton of Venkis, ton of
Yeah.
Srinivases, and all that, right? South India, right? So there is, on that forum there are a few Venkis already. One was Wheel Sports Venki, who is quite famous here, and he's a great guy. So he runs a shop called Wheel Sports. So I said, okay, he's Wheel Sports Venki. He's more of a shop guy more than a rider. I said, okay, I what name should I choose? I said for the login name, right? I said Bikey Venky to distinguish myself as a rider, and that kind of stuck. So I used to write a lot of my ride reports and stuff on that, and whenever I blogged, kind of signed off with as Bikey Venky and stuff. So that that kind of struck. Yeah.
Nice. That's a good brand name.
So and yeah, so I kept because of that injury, I kept riding. I picked up a fixed gear bike.
And this was when you got back to India. You still in Vermont or?
I was in Vermont. So in that May, that marathon did not happen. But that May 1st, there was a bike exchange kind of thing, where old bikes are dropped off at a bike shop, and they are up for sale, and you very competitive prices and stuff. So I was looking for a bike. I had that MTB that I built, but I was looking. I all had a fixie to be picked up. At the back of my mind, I happened to go along with a friend to help him pick a small bike for his daughter, and I saw this bike. Shiny bike, and it's a fixed gear bike, and I said, okay, I really fell in love with that. And so that I immediately picked that up, and by the time someone was already having an eye on it, picked up, but I was just walking behind them all the time, so that whenever they decide not to go for it, I would pick up. So I think they kind of noticed that I'm really interested in it, and said, you can have it. That was my first kind of a real bike, I would say. Um, that is what I called uh, the Bulldog. It had a bullhorn kind of handlebars and stuff. So I gave it a nickname called Bulldog. And I used to ride around on that fixed gear bike, all the time. So from the shop, I went to the shop on my MTB, right? So I kept my MTB at home, and I picked after picking up this bike, I just went out for a 50K ride and came back. I really loved that bike, and so I kept
50K
riding.
on a fixed gear.
Yeah, 50K on a fixed gear bike, and also in Vermont it's quite hilly. There are no big mountains, but it's quite quite hilly, and
Wow.
yeah, I really fell in love with it. Thankfully, it had brakes, so that on the downhills you can control the speed. Otherwise, you would just go off. So I kept riding that bike, and thankfully I loved it so much that I couldn't leave it back in Vermont. Uh, so I happened to bring it back with me.
Nice.
So
Do you
and
still
I
have
kept.
it?
I still
Still
have
have
it.
it? Oh, nice.
Yeah, that is my commuter now.
Okay.
I use that for commute purposes to office and everything. I think that is my most used bike, and the best $150 investment that I ever done. Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
the best $150 impulse buy ever.
Lovely. And it's a collectible almost, right?
It is.
It's a
It
part
is
of
because
your whole persona, and your kids are gonna own it, say, hey, this is my dad's, collectible.
yeah,
It's a big
yeah,
story behind it, right? It's just
yeah.
not a
It is.
bike, right? It's
It
more than
is
that.
just not a bike, because I came back and I actually kept riding that in Hyderabad. And after coming back from Hyderabad, at the end of I came back in September time frame, and then started looking for new jobs and stuff. And that's when I found a job in Bangalore. I was very reluctant to move around that time, because Hyderabad, you spent 10 years there and you love the place and all that. So the prospect of moving to Hyderabad was not very appeasing for me, and but very reluctantly I moved. But once I moved here, with all the biking around and stuff, I thought I would go back to Hyderabad, maybe find another job in 6 months and go back. But in 6 months, said, okay, this is a lovely place. So that thought of going back kind of went back.
Which part of Bangalore are you in?
I am near Ramurti Nagar.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. In Aralle.
Cool. So the Bangalore biking scene is pretty big, right? I mean, I used to remember I visit Bangalore almost every year, right? And I left Bangalore in 2000, around 2000.
Right.
Back then, of course, there was no such scene. But every time I used to visit back, I think around 2007 and 8, 9, I used to see cyclists on the airport road, and especially on the airport road, right near that lake and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to think, wow, that's so cool, and everybody looking very cool, and everybody is in a peloton, and I was like, wow, there's something going on here.
Yeah. So 2008, 2010 December, when I came to Bangalore, the very next week, something called Tour of Niligiris cool off party was happening. And I happened to gate crash that cool off party. because 2008, when I around the time I started cycling, is when tour of Nilgiris also started.
Okay.
Okay, and that was at the back of my mind all the time. This is cool. 900 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers in 1 week in all those hills, and riding and coming back is so awesome. So that was something of an aspiration for me as well. So when I heard that this school of party was happening, and I was in Bangalore that week, and so I went and gate crashed that party, and I was listening to the experiences, those stories of those riders, sharing how was the tour experience for them. And I was listening wide-eyed, and I was like, wow, this I need to do. And that is when so I signed up when registrations for 2011 tour happened. I immediately signed up. um,
So that
and
was your first time you wrote that, the
yeah,
TFN.
2011 was the first time
2011.
I rode the TFN.
So tell me, back in 2011, right? Especially if you're riding from Bangalore to Hassan, Chikmagalur, that area,
Mm.
those raid roads were not in great shape for even cars. Or was it already fixed when you started?
No, not the roads were not that great.
Right,
Not
especially
that.
from that main highway when you go into Belur side, that road was pretty bad shape. I remember.
Yeah, so our route did not go through Belur and stuff, but
Okay,
a lot of these routes were not great roads. I remember, especially a couple of stretches near and around Madikeri and stuff were really bad. And one of those tours we had to they were so bad that we had to take a bus across,
wow.
and put the cycles in a, truck and go. It kind of floated because they were so bad, and people were afraid they'll fall and injure themselves and stuff like that.
The common term for most non-bikers is
Mm.
biking is ball squash key effort, right? And and if you are on those roads, man, I
Yeah,
can't imagine what the state of affairs is, right?
yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah,
come out the other side pretty hurt.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that yeah, signing up for TFN in 2011 was really kind of a life-changing experience for me, because that was something that I was really looking forward to there. And when my registration got accepted, I was like, I was very elated, and at the same time really scared, because I had that fixed gear bike. That's the only bike I had, and I was like, so I decided to do the TFN on that bike. It became a kind of challenge, and also because that's the only thing that I could afford at that time. I was not in a place where I could put money for a road bike or something. So I said, okay, let me take this up as a challenge and do it on a fixed gear bike. And yeah, so I began to kind of train like a madman because I was super afraid. um, that was that first time I started riding weekdays, instead of just weekends. So from weekend warrior I became more of a regular cyclist training for TFN. So I started riding Tuesdays, Thursdays, I think some Wednesdays. So I used to go 25-kilometer out, 25-kilometer back before before work, get ready for work, and get back on the bike and go for work. So that became a kind of daily mantra for me. And So that year, leading up to TFN, I ended up riding almost 10,000 kilometers,
Wow.
and lost another 12 kilos.
That is
So
that is quite a huge mileage.
yeah, so because I was super scared, so that fear drove me out of the bed and said, okay,
And
go
on
do
those
your
ten
thing.
thousand miles on the single gear bike,
Yeah, on the fixed gear bike. Yeah.
fixed gear bike, that must have built your quads.
Oh yeah. So by the I was I used to ride with I used to see my current teammates riding on the same route on Shivas Road. They used to just fly past like that, and I was like, oh, wow, these guys are so fast. So at the time, my speeds were like 25 kmph at max, and these guys on their chatty rides used to do 30 kmph and stuff, and I was like, wow. So, and by August or September, like that, I was able to keep up with them on their easy chatty rides. So I they used to keep chatting and riding easy, and I was huffing and puffing and hanging on to their wheels at the back. And by
But you were building your aerobic system while they were not.
yeah, so slowly I was like improving. And
Yeah.
by the time December rolled in, by the time TFN was close by, I still remember the day. I think a couple of days before the tour or something, my friend Rajesh Nair and Mohan Kumar, they were my teammates, were riding. My current teammates, they were riding, and I was behind their wheels. They were doing some last speed work or something. They were going fast, and I was on their wheel, like as if my life depended on it. And like, whoa, that was such an exhilarating experience. And by the end of the ride, they looked back and looked at me, and they're like, wow, you call you kept up. And they were really impressed, and by the time I was in really top shape.
Yeah.
And the tour itself went really well, because I was really in good shape by that time, with all the mileage and these unplanned speed work, trying to hang on to these faster guys. Really built my capacity up. And in the tour itself, although I was really apprehensive, I was really afraid, I was able to do well and finish in almost top 10
Oh
in
wow.
those 100 people on that fixed gear bike.
And what
Yeah.
about hills on a fixed gear bike? How did you do it? You must
So
have
the
some really strong legs to do that.
Yeah, so what happened was, I was really afraid of hills, because obviously, climbing up Ooty and all
Yeah.
that is really challenging, right? So just to kind of be mentally and physically ready to, even before registering also, I wanted to test myself whether I could actually climb on this. So in 2011 May, I went to Ooty with a friend. So we drove down, and we decided to climb up Ooty. So we stayed in Masangudi, and um, first day we tried through Sigur Ghat, the Kalahati Ghat, and the second day we decided, okay, easier side is Gudalur side. So let's, first day when we are fresh, let's try the harder side, Kalahati side. And that was easily the worst day of my life on a bike. Because that Kalahati and that fixie is completely nuts. You can't even the jeeps, even cars struggle up that
Mm.
steep climb. and with I had a 42 at the front and 15 at the back. That gear was completely nuts for that gradient, and that it hit me so hard that it was mentally so taxing, not just physically. I was down and out in, in the gutter in no time, and I was like really afraid that okay, what I if this is something so difficult, how am I going to do something like TFN? So by the time I was able to do like go, I think one third of the way, my friend called up and said, Where are you?" By the time he climbed up, and he said, "Where are you?" And said, "I said, I think I am in, one third of the way." And he said, "Dude, turn back, because it is going to only get tougher, because it's going to get steeper on and as you go." I said, "Okay." I swallowed my pride and tucked my tail in the and then got down, and I was really down that day. But then the second day we went on the other side, Gudalur side, and we were riding, we started climbing, we started riding. We were thinking the climb would start now, the climb would start now, the climb would start now. And we completed like we reached Paikara, and said, "Dude, I think this is the climb." Because the first day climb was so steep
Yeah,
that this side didn't feel like a climb. We were chatting and we were going at a 10 kilometer per hour speed, but we were chatting and climbing at very easy pace, but we were able to do that.
yeah.
So I said that gave me a confidence that okay, maybe it is not that big a deal, because that year TFN was on this side, the easier side, not the
Okay.
Kalahati side. Um, so I came back, and but I decided, I need to train more on these hills. So once I came back to Bangalore, I every weekend I used to go to Nandi, do repeats on that. If the first time I went to Nandi on that was like a struggle. Like much before I stopped for like 3 times or something, did it in 45 minutes or something. And by the time TFN came around, I did it in 26 minutes, and was like that was over a period of time. I kept at it, kept going back and kept repeating, and kept the uh, built that ability to climb.
Right, right.
So by the time TFN came around, it was on the hills. I was keeping up with everyone, and maybe going faster than some of them. But everyone used to drop me on the downhills, because I couldn't keep the cadence up
Yeah, yeah.
to stay with them on the downhills. So it was a fun experience. Yeah.
Cool. So fast forward now, you've been doing this for some time. So have you been doing the Nilgiris tour every year?
Yeah, so from 2011, I have done tour of Nilgiris every year till 2019.
Cool.
So 2020 did not happen.
Mhm.
So that would have been my 10th tour
Nice.
if that happened. So I'm looking forward to 2021 so that I could do that. Yeah.
Nice. So how do you just enjoy the ride now, or do you kind of benchmark yourself, trying to get better every year in the same tour, or how do you keep yourself excited about doing this every year?
Yeah, so that is what I've done is I've taken a role of a blogger for the tour.
Okay.
So the first year when I rode that tour, I used to come back and blog about that tour because
Okay.
I was so excited. Through the night, till 11, 12 in the night, I used to sit and blog about it. and people loved that blog. And so the organizers the next year said, come on the tour as a blogger. Then I said, if you allow me to ride, I will come. Otherwise, I don't want to just come and blog and go, because I don't feel anything if I'm not riding. So now my focus on the tour after that had been to kind of give that experience, share that experience with everyone. And although I kind of there is that performance goal as well, in terms of trying to improve on some of those segments, and trying to do well. And I have in the process I've won the masters category a couple of years, 2016 and 17, like that. But the focus has been about sharing that experience, on sharing the great nature of the tour with a wider audience, because I personally feel that anyone who has anything to do with cycling in India has to experience this tour. It is such an experience, more than just riding.
I got to see that through your videos, and you also been vlogging about it now, right?
Yes.
So 2019 you vlogged, and I could seriously go through the ride with you guys. That's nice. Very nice. So is that what got you also to start off the channel? The blogging kind of became a vlogging thing?
The story behind the podcast is a little different, because although I've been on this journey, cycling journey, for all these 12 years, I struggled with my weight almost every year, because I come to a point, and then I think still in my mind I see myself as that fat dude. So
you're the fat guy with skinny body.
Yeah, I guess so. I see myself as that fat dude. I think that subconsciously kind of self-sabotaging thing is kind of ticks in and says, okay, you can't be this lean now. And I tend to put on weight almost every year. This kind of falling off the wagon happens. So
this happens in spite of your activity, or is it because your activity slows down?
So the activity, it's a bit of a both. I think it's sometimes I just lose focus in even the whatever goals I have won't matter or anything. And I just fall off the wagon completely. I think both mentally and physically. In the terms, I tend to eat a lot more indisciplined, and lose focus. And although I think it kind of happened more often, or I'm perceiving it more often once I started coaching in 2016. Right. In 2016, I started coaching for cycling, and helped a couple of guys do well at nationals, and do well at events like Tour of Niligiris and stuff like that. And I quite enjoy the process. But what it has done is that this is work, 9 to 5 work is there, and afterwards this coaching thing is there, and then my own training, right? So I think this kind of during this process, my own training took a little bit of a backseat.
Right.
And when cycling is a very unforgiving sport, for that matter, even running, I think, right? So if you are not putting in the work, you are not going to progress, right? So I've seen myself stagnating, and um, and coupled with these yearly kind of downturns, with me gaining weight and losing fitness and stuff, they both together began to play with my mind a lot, play on my mind. It's a lot of mental stress, because I started feeling like, I'm coaching all these people
Right.
to get well, to get better on the bike. But what am I myself doing, right? So I am falling off the wagon. I am not focusing on my own training, and I am falling off the wagon quite regularly. So that kind of gave me this complex, right? Uh, the uh, the what is this? I felt like an imposter, right? That imposter syndrome, that I kept pounding at my inners, like, really badly. And I began, that did not help much. I began to suffer more. And but during this pandemic, I think this pandemic kind of gave me some time to really sit and think about it, because I don't have to get my workout done in the morning, get on the bike to go to office, come back, and in the evening sit and see what are all my athletes doing on the coaching thing. And it's a never ending cycle, right? So but this pandemic, sometimes I didn't even have the morning workout. So there is no commute involved, and so I had a little bit of time and energy, and really sat down and introspected. So what is it that I want to do with coaching? What is it that I want to do as an athlete? And what is it that I want to actually do in the workplace, right? I began to introspect and say, okay, so this is what I want to do. I really enjoy helping people, and I really enjoy I have no other a choice but to stay fit, because if I don't, I will fall sick again, and that is not, I don't want to be at that place back again. So I want to be really fit, but also want to be an example for a good working athlete, right? Uh, so and I actually, more than being an example, I want to get rid of that imposter syndrome. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can with given all the constraints, right? So that when I am coaching someone, I am doing it with a clear mind.
Right.
I don't have that nagging imposter syndrome at the back of my mind, right? So I want to be genuinely be of service.
Right.
So all this introspection, most of it actually happened while I am on the trainer.
Okay.
Right. So one fine day, that this thought about, I was listening to one of the podcasts, I guess, and said, that guy asked, what is it that you would love doing, even if someone did not pay for it, or even if no one was watching it. Because at the start, no one cares, right? If you start, when you start something, then I told myself, okay, I like helping people, and I like telling stories, and I myself need some growth mindset to say, to stay on track, right? I want to help. If I look to help someone like me, then I think I will feel better, and I will also stay on the course. So, and then who is someone like me, I asked myself. And then that, okay, I am working, and I also see myself as an athlete, and that name of the working athlete came into the mind. And immediately I got off the bike after the workout, of course, and started sketching the idea about the, for the podcast. So the podcast idea came out of my own suffering, both figuratively and literally, while working out on the trainer and trying to get rid of my own suffering and trying
that's
to
great.
stay the course.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, for people who are listening to this, that is what it is, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're going to be at something for a long time, you are
Yeah.
going to have your ups and downs mentally, mostly
Absolutely.
mentally, right?
Yeah.
And you have to reinvent the game all the time. And
Yeah.
so you
Absolutely.
can get back. Now you found the podcast, you're back in the game. And the same thing with me, because, I've been running for like 12 years. I've gone through, there are years where you like, say, why am I doing this? Sometimes you look at those folks who are not running, who are not bicycling, they have a good life, they have no problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so why am I doing this again?
Yeah.
So then you have to again, but innately we know that this
Yeah.
gives us joy, it gives us happiness,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it keeps us sharp. So
Yeah.
we pull ourselves, we got to reinvent the game, and then you're back in the game. So
Yeah.
that's a great lesson there, right?
Yeah. This is something that centers us, right? This is something that keeps us focused and keeps us going, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't know what happens when you lose that center, right? So that's what keeps us going, I guess.
Absolutely. I'm reading this book called The Atomic Habits. I don't know if you read that.
Oh man, absolutely. I read it, and I actually listened to the audiobook a couple of times,
Yeah.
and it's an absolute game changer. The great point that a lot of ton of things, but one mantra that nowadays keeps me going is never miss a workout twice.
Okay.
Right, so never miss it twice in a row. So even if that kind of, what that does is, it is it is okay to have one off days, but don't let it become a habit.
Yeah.
If you let it go twice, thrice, it becomes a habit, and it picks up its own momentum and becomes, you become a laggard again. Right. So he has that point about never miss twice. Never miss twice, I think, is the phrase, and that kind of keeps me in check nowadays, and
Terrific.
it's a great mantra to have, I think.
Terrific.
Never miss
Yeah,
twice.
absolutely. I have not reached that far in the book, but so far in what I've read, one of my takeaways was when you approach a habit from a perspective of an identity, when there's a fundamental shift in identity, then your systems that you develop and the habits that happen after that becomes a natural flow. So just coming back to your story, your fundamental identity is that of a cyclist. You may have those bad days, you may have bad months, but because you have constituted yourself as a bicyclist, you get back on track. And I'm just correlating the two frameworks
No,
here.
that's a great point. That's a great point, because even I after I read the book, that is another thing that really helped me.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about seeing myself as that fat dude, right? Right. When I that kind of kept resulting in those slippages every year, right? So now what I am working on is precisely that identity, right? So precisely getting rid of that fat dude identity, right? So that instead replacing that with an identity of a lean athlete who is disciplined and who does well, right? So when you are when you nail that identity, rest of the habits fall in line with that identity. Whenever you are doing something, it will be in line with that identity. Otherwise, if you are subconsciously looking yourself as that fat dude, what does that fat dude do? He loves biryani and goes about goes at it every day. So but what does this lean athlete who is disciplined do? Okay, he still loves biryani, but only does it once in a while, right? And eats healthily most of the time. So
and I must say,
identity is a
I would also add that one of the things that in today's world people deal with is body image, and there are all kind of body types, and I just want to make sure that people who are listening to this get it in the right context. It's not really about it's not bad to be someone who is chubby. It's not. I think we got to be clear about it. There are different body types, but mentally, no matter how you look, if you think you are a particular way, you're not going to have a great experience, and that's what you're in a way saying.
That is absolutely right. That is something that when I'm saying that and when I'm referring to a fat dude or something, I am referring to my old self, who has been suffering with those health issues.
Correct.
That health is the primary thing for me, more than the body image. Because that is what keeps me going even now. That is what gives me nightmares, right? Those sleepless nights, those painful days, right? That is something that I want to get rid of, right? Leave it behind and say, okay, get rid of those nightmares, and then now shift the identity from that guy who was suffering all those things to a more healthy person, right?
Terrific.
Absolutely.
So it's great that you started this podcast and YouTube channel. So what do you find is the most challenging part of running a podcast?
So I think the easy part is talking to people, right? I love I enjoy talking to people and getting to know them and trying to get others to know them, right? But I think I am still working on the process of say editing and stuff like that, and trying to get a hang of it. And I need to streamline a lot of things so that it is sustainable, right? It's the same thing when it comes to work or workout or anything. If it is not sustainable, you can't keep doing it for a long time. I'm trying to streamline those processes so that I can keep it sustainable, keep it going, because I want to keep doing it for a long time.
No, I agree. I think you're right. I think for me also, the production side of it is where a lot of I've had to learn it. Stumbling on, you look at somebody's and then say, oh, how did that person do this? And you come back, do research. There's nobody who's kind of taught me, so you just self-taught, you keep moving forward. But production is
I still like I don't have an intro or outro or all that stuff yet. So I said, okay, let me get started. All those things will come, and we'll figure it out when I have time.
Terrific. So I want to get into some kind of I have a few questions that I want to ask you. One is, if you were to pick 3 mantras which you would, starters mistakes, which you want to share with the audience, saying 3 things, right? Top 3 mantras you would suggest people can take on, not make the same mistakes you make.
So too much too soon is a big thing, I think.
So is there like a yardstick, in a thumb rule in cycling? Like in running, we have a 10% rule, right? So if you're starting to run, we say that your mileage must not increase more than 10% in a week. So if you're starting with 10 miles this week, you mustn't go. So is there something like that in cycling?
I think that 10% rule would still apply for cycling as well, because cycling is a little more forgiving than running in terms of it's a low impact sport, but still that it's a lot of repetitive actions, right? Still I think 10% rule still holds. Don't build too much too soon. I did that. I learned the hard way by injuring myself. I think I did my first 100-kilometer ride 2 months into my riding, and some people do it in first month or even first week. But you got to be prudent about it. I ended up having an injury that didn't let me ride for a couple of more months. So yeah, it has more to do with the bike and the all the wobbly pedals and all that I was riding in. But still, you got to keep that in mind, that you should be building gradually.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so don't get bogged down about thinking about equipment. So don't get bogged down about the constraints that you have. Oh, I don't have a road bike, I don't have a power meter, I don't have this fancy Garmin or that kind. So those things are not going to ride for you. Those are not going to give you that fitness. Those are good to have. Those are nice things to have. A better bike will make you a little more faster. But apart from that, it's not going to say make you a lot more fitter, right? It will definitely make you faster. But that those are the things. Don't get bogged down about the things that you don't have. Start with what you have, and eventually you can maybe afford them, or justify them. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Third one. You
Oh,
said two.
third one. Okay. And the third one would be, I would say, whatever you decide, like I said, never miss twice. Like so,
Consistency.
building consistency, building habits. I would say two part. Maybe even a fourth one I would give. Think about consistency and long term, right? Whatever you do, don't just think about short term, and think about long term. What do you want to do? When you how long do you want to do this? I want to be able to ride when I'm like 80 or 90. So as I look at it that way. And
Long term.
think long term, keep things sustainable, and keep at it. Don't miss, never miss twice also is another mantra. Yeah.
All right. So I got two more quick segments. One is what are your 2021 goals? What are you up to?
Yeah, 2021 goals. I have my only goal this 2021 is doing well in a couple of races that I've decided. Unfortunately, most of them are going to be local, I think, because still travel is an issue. But doing well in those. But more importantly, staying consistent, and not the big goal for this year is going to be not letting that downturn downturn in performance, and so the spike in weight. So keeping those in check. Yeah.
All right. I've got one last segment. I want to do some rapid fire with you for
All
some
right.
fun. Okay. So, ready?
Yeah.
What's your favorite cycling gadget?
Cycling gadget. I think Garmin, my cycle computer. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What's your fantasy bike? And how much
Oh
does it
man.
cost?
Oh, Fantasy bike. I'm actually pretty bad at this because there are so many good bikes out there. I Right now I am kind of fantasizing about a gravel bike that my current brand Chapter 2 has. Chapter 2 gravel bike. I'm fantasizing about that, but yeah, a lot of great bikes out there that I really fancy about. But
Right.
yeah, that gravel bike I think costs about 3 to 4 lakhs to.
Okay.
Uh, but
Hope they are listening and they give you a discount. I was just kidding. And they're not paying us to talk about this.
yeah, no.
And gravel bikes are getting pretty mainstream now. I mean, every cyclist I speak to, gravel bikes. It's all about gravel bikes.
Mm.
Okay. What's your favorite post-ride binge?
My favorite post-ride binge would be a nice biryani.
Which one, mutton or chicken?
I don't recognize chicken biryani.
That's not even a biryani.
Mutton biryani, yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. You're from Hyderabad, so I should have just guessed that. What's been your most memorable ride so far?
My most memorable ride, it's difficult to say one, but a couple of them. My first TFN is the most memorable, definitely. And then 2016 May, one of the road races where Spectrum Racing, we were on top step of the podium on all the categories. So that was memorable. I was not on the podium, but I helped the team get on the podium on all those 3 steps. So that was a very memorable ride as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Terrific. What's been your toughest ride so far?
Oh, toughest ride so far is that ride, Pixie ride up Kalahati in 2011. The toughest day of my life. Yeah, that's a very easy one.
All right. Cool, Venky. I think we're kind of coming up to the end of our conversation. I really enjoyed walking through the memory lane with you in terms of what you've been going through, how you've built your career in cycling and your journey. Wish you, all the best for 2021 and beyond. Hope to see you doing great stuff. Hope to see more content on your YouTube channel and the vlogs, especially. I love those vlogs. All of us get to be in TFN without having to be there. So thank you for that and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you for having me. It's been a great time, reliving those memories. And thanks again for having me on the show.
All right, I'll let you go and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.